Great. Can you guys, am I good? Am I good to go?
You are good. You look
Okay,
great. Yep.
so hi everyone. So I am Sara Davis. I am the Director of Community Operations for Habitat McHenry County, and I am here with Allison Dibbern, Volunteer Coordinator with Habitat McHenry County, which Carrie already told you, but we are excited to be here. We got really lucky and got a great topic, recognizing your volunteers the right way, and that coincides with National Volunteer Week. So we thought this is going to be a great conversational piece for everyone to chime in when they can. So to get us started, before Allison goes into all of her amazingly prepared slides, Habitat mobilizes more than 1 million volunteers to build, advocate, and raise awareness about the global need for shelter each year. So if you think about that, and I don't know, in small terms, I think of how hard it is just as one affiliate trying to get, 75 volunteers a week in. So when you put that into bigger numbers, I think when we all work together and talk about what works, it's a great thing to encourage more people to get into Habitat. So Allison, can you take us away from here?
All right, Allison. I can see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you, which is weird because we tested this. All right, try that again, Allison.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, and you sound good.
Yay.
All right,
Terrific.
take it away.
Apologies.
No worries.
Well, as Sara said, yes, we have, volunteers daily, monthly, yearly, and throughout all the affiliates, a large number. And we've found in talking with our volunteers and our experience with, showing recognition for them, that a sincere smile and a thank you will be a cute keychain any day. Not that those items don't have a place in the recognition world, but really when it comes to retaining volunteers and making that connection with the organization, we found that the intrinsic options are the most important. We even surveyed our volunteers from both our build site and our restores. All of the above options shown here have been provided to all of our volunteers as recognition pieces. And as you can see, there's an overwhelming majority that really selected that sincerity, the thank you, and that conversation with staff as their preferred recognition. So when having these interactions with the volunteers, we found can see how it validates their time and their impact with the organization. And in looking at other options, like spotlighting the volunteers or giving their service a shout out on social media, it definitely had strong secondary responses. A lot of the volunteers want to advocate for the mission, and by being an example of the great work we're doing, it can be very appealing. On the other side of that coin, you definitely have volunteers who prefer not to be in the limelight, but do like recognition through award certificates or items that show their total completed hours, or apparel or items, swag they can utilize on site. So personalization can make a large difference as well. If you see them always showing up with their Starbucks coffee or their McDonald's breakfast sandwich, it makes a gift card to these places more satisfying and more personal to them versus a certificate or just the swag that can be more generic for them personally. So it's all about making that connection stronger, we found. Why it's important too, because we've looked at this survey and the results, they apply differently to different volunteers. And then we've been able to focus on the importance of recognizing them in different ways to make that connection. It definitely connects them further to the cause beyond their initial interest or passion, or even if they're the voluntold, it's an opportunity to make that lasting connection. Recognizing their participation and efforts mean that we acknowledge that showing up is a big deal. It matters to us every day, every minute, no matter the quantity, that it truly is important to us, and they don't just get lost in the fold. By acknowledging their service, a sense of appreciation settles in, and that really furthers that sense of pride in helping not only Habitat, but their community. We all feel that, jobs and home lives have a need for what we put in emotionally and physically to be acknowledged by those around us, whether it be bosses, coworkers, family members. And that same goes for volunteers, recognizing acknowledgement from staff and other volunteers as well. All humans need that recognized in a meaningful way for their efforts. And we take that really seriously as kind of a center of our recognition. This really helps build self-esteem and confidence. And as our volunteers are truly one of our largest sources of recruitment, advocacy, and donors, the empowerment only improves their interest and ability to do so. So in the end, again, making that connection, these recognition efforts all lead to volunteer retention, which is something we all are certainly striving for. We have two basic types of volunteer recognition. Sarah,
I get to talk. Yay.
Yay. Had to let her talk some.
I did. No, I did. I'm like number 7. That's mine. So yeah, so there's the two basic types of volunteer recognition. One of the fun things that I always found when I was doing your job was just, showing up, like she said, with coffee because somebody really loved their Dunkin' Donuts coffee, so, maybe it was even just a gift card or something, or maybe it was somebody's birthday. We had a couple of people stop by and they were all vegan. So we made a point of finding a vegan place nearby for lunch. So there's those things, but then there's also, maybe it's just a thank you. Maybe it's just pulling them aside. Maybe they stopped at the office or you bump into them at the restore or maybe you just send a note and say, hey, we really appreciate your help today. We were shorthanded this week. And everybody knows how that is during COVID. So I just think, just knowing your volunteers and knowing what they prefer and, what speaks to them is important. And I do think that having that personal touch, no matter how big we get, is also hugely important. So thanks, Allison.
Very well said. And there's a lot of those keys to recognition, kind of as you're saying too. I like to hit on just, some of them here, like being sincere. And sincerity, I think, is a huge part of all of this. We all feel it, whether it's the cashier at the grocery store or, if somebody holding a door for you truly, or just speaking with somebody that you care about. An actual sense of sincerity makes all the difference. To do it often, we all have busy weeks. Not making it a priority to make a connection with them each week is a missed opportunity. And I can't say that I've always been perfect on it, but it's something that we want to consistently strive for, whether through a quick email note, a hello, thank you on site, or something more grand. Doing it in different ways. I don't think sincerity ever really loses its touch, but adding a snack in is always a nice change. With any relationship, keeping it fresh can be beneficial. So we also think that recognizing big and small contributions is important. I think we often take for granted some tasks or the volunteer that is in for a couple hours each week versus the names maybe you see signed in multiple times. So making sure everyone receives recognition no matter the size of their service. Consistency, because it can only take a minute to get in the groove and build that. If you have volunteers at different locations at different days, it can be a challenge to ensure that you're being consistent, showing up and not missing out on some little niche that isn't getting the attention. Spreading the love consistently is important. And recognizing is not just a volunteer coordinator's or a director's or whatever's job. It really is everybody's job. The difference it can make when everyone's on board to be there and recognize volunteers is huge. If you have staff who don't buy in on recognizing volunteers, it can leave them feeling unappreciated and disconnected, and can be it. They can be gone. So when everyone's on board, it allows for a sense of community to be built, and they know that they're embraced by a team no matter who they're working with that day. So there's not a fear of, Dave isn't there on a certain day, so you don't feel comfortable going in. It needs to be a team effort. We really, like as Sarah said, customizing it. If Dave loves Mickey D's, that can be the key to his heart, and showing that you listen and care. Communication is huge in any part of organization. So volunteers who feel connected do so because you talk to them, and most importantly, because you listen to them and you seek their feedback, and not just listening. So want to talk too about something we're all looking for, the low and no cost ways to show recognition. As a nonprofit, that's important part of our angle and how we can do it more without, breaking the bank. But anyone who has a great example too, or a success story here, please put it in the chat. Feel free to share. I think My Habitat and Yammer is a great resource to kind of feel what other people are doing, and that question's often answered. A lot of the things we have listed here aren't going to rewrite the wheel, but they're tried and true. And one thing I think of the first one too, personalizing thank you letters, emails, and calls, is that partner families being involved in that too really helps with emotional connection. That's so important. So utilizing, them in different ways of that nature, spotlighting your volunteers through social media, print spotlights like newsletters, It's a great way to let them feel as though they're advocating for habitat, and also let others make a connection who are viewing that with an actual volunteer and seeing how that connection can be made through the reasons why that volunteers and why they could join us as well. Excuse me. Recognizing birthdays and anniversaries, simple things, but I think even, yes, if a volunteer's been around for 6 months, compared to the one that's been there for 5 years, it may not feel like as much to them, but 6 months is amazing in my world. So they deserve recognition throughout. I read somebody like to designate parking spots at the restores, which I'm sure could be done for different, reasons of recognition throughout. But I thought that was just an out of the box way to kind of show that they are important to you, and they're an important part of what you're doing there. The volunteer photo wall, in a sense too, whether it be your builds, volunteers working on the builds, doing work at the restores, the proofs in the pudding. So seeing past volunteer work displayed really reminds us of what can be done when we put all the pieces of service together. All the small little bits that everybody do really grow into a big thing, whether daily, volunteer, monthly, takes everyone to accomplish those goals. So it's a great reminder of that and what can come out of all the work that we do. Investing in them, I think learning new skills makes someone feel more empowered and stronger. So in the same sense that our families, we're giving them that hand up to build strength and stability. There's an opportunity with the volunteers as well to, show them an interest that they may have as well in improving and learning, and they deserve that same, opportunity too. Kind of even along that, we've had LinkedIn endorsements or resume endorsements, an opportunity to reward that hardworking volunteer with something, especially maybe a college student. We recently had a volunteer who would come every Thursday because she had lost her job previously, just right as COVID was hitting. And although she would love to have just continued volunteering with us all the time, really did need to find employment again. So by making just an endorsement on LinkedIn, after she showed, her commitment and showed the hard work that she could put in, she earned it and she deserved it. So it's something that we can provide that can be useful to them, and also build like a lifelong connection with them as well. She hopes as soon as possible that she can come back on Saturdays instead. So it really drives that connection. And inviting to committees, that builds buy-in and the connection deepens as well. Low and no cost options are sustainable like this. And we often like to also find additional ways to show appreciation through events or items when they're donated or when our budget allows to do so. So I'm going to let Sara mention a few of those for you.
Yes, well, so I'm the spender, I guess, of the group, but I do like finding ways that we can get in there. And one of the nice things I like to do is tap our other employees who are all very, very talented and crafty, and get their ideas. So we have our donation manager who, she's an artist, and she also makes necklaces and things. So for our women build, to show appreciation to the volunteers, she made a bunch of little restore necklaces, which we of course reimbursed her for. But sometimes it's just bringing in a candy bar with that. You're out of this world. And the more we do that as volunteer coordinators or as community outreach team, the more our managers are seeing that, the more our construction team is seeing that, and that spreads. I think that's one of the great things that we can do. We've had, for instance, and I'm thinking of Thanksgiving, obviously it was COVID and it was small group, but these people were working together in their small same groups all the time. So they had their own little Thanksgiving get together at the build site. And we did that as well in the stores. So these are things that make people feel, that sense of camaraderie that comes along with volunteering, the friendships that we all tout, oh, look what you'll get out of volunteering. But, if it costs me a few dollars to get a candy bar or a gift card, or if that, for instance, I know we have a lot of hoodie fans on our construction team. So if they want hoodies, I'm getting them hoodies, and that's what people, it's a little thing. And I know a lot of people don't want the financial part of it. They, oh, please don't spend money, but they do appreciate being thanked, whether it is a verbal or even if you know them well enough, something more tangible. So, oh, I didn't talk about the food trucks, but I'll let Allison get into that.
No, you make great points too. There's a lot of ways that we can, show, again, by listening and knowing the kind of things that help motivate our volunteers. And by doing something, we're looking at having food trucks at our restores kind of monthly, not only to bring awareness to our organization, but also to, offer that to our volunteers as something that kind of shows that we appreciate them being there, and to highlight the restores. And sometimes those that are in the back room doing all the heavy lifting and all the hard work. And I know that all of you who have spent any time working in the restore know that it's dedication and it takes a lot of work. So to take opportunities like that and partner with people to be able to do these things and then spend a little bit of money is well worth it. One thing I know that a lot of us have experienced throughout the last year as well is virtual adjustments to a lot of these recognition pieces. So to talk about those a little bit, I think I can speak. First of all, a video from staff to volunteers, I think is a terrific opportunity. And although this is something that danced around in my mind last kind of November-ish, I want to say early December, when I saw the video from Carrie's team at the Rockford area Habitat for Humanity. It's a skillfully executed volunteer appreciation video that tied in a lot of topics that we've discussed here into their recognition, that highlighted all the aspects in their organization and its volunteers. I highly recommend viewing it. I know the link is here, but we can absolutely, share that in a sense as well through YouTube. I think it's the easiest way to access it. But I think it seems it's having your staff record thank you notes. They also presented awards virtually, share images from throughout the year, all great pieces, to a virtual online presentation that can be shared via social media and through email. In a way, when you don't feel the personal connection that a lot of us have been missing here throughout the past year, that offers that opportunity to have kind of that visual connection, and once again reinforce that even though we're not always there every day to say it, that we do care. Another thing I think that's become really ingrained is individually packaged snacks. It's something that I hear about all the time. Kind of when I started in the COVID time as the volunteer coordinator, I know that food used to be a large piece in our kind of way of saying, come build with us, we'll feed you lunch, come, work in the restore, we have snacks for you. So providing food for our volunteers was one of the best ways we had to give back to them in an easy way. And our current climate, the main phrase is individually packaged. One of my favorite items, though, I found has been the Cliff Builder bars, because I think the cheese factor is terrific. And because they've gotten a really good response from volunteers on site, and they're not just a sugar punch. Just for an example, but the opportunity to utilize, as much as that seems like a hassle in the beginning, there's a lot of ways that you can kind of find what's out there, and then how you can utilize it to be an opportunity to still hit those notes. Outdoor activities, I've heard a lot of event activities where people are going to like pumpkin farms, park and recreation areas. So an opportunity to get outside of the typical environment. In the past winter too, I think with email certificates and gift cards, I utilized my Habitat's volunteer recognition toolkit and made certificates for each volunteer using the template that they had and the design, and then emailed those out with a personal note to each volunteer. Also sent Amazon gift cards to our top volunteers and was able to upload the same design to the gift cards. That really tied in the recognition together. So looking into kind of different ways to utilize what's available and still make those personal touches. Drive-bys have become a popular option for dedications, birthdays, and more. I've read in Yammer different affiliates using this option to also hand out goodie bags and then have almost a pep rally even. So definitely, I think, an opportunity that can still keep people smiling as we, throughout time, maybe don't have to be as virtual. I thought it was a neat idea to give them an opportunity to design swag also. And that's just kind of something you can do from home, something that doesn't require a time commitment at a certain time, but could be involved with, and then makes you feel really, connected and committed from what you've done there. And then another one, I swear I keep saying we're going to have this online badge that's going to be terrific, because listening to a lot of media, people who talk about ways to help with this. They talk about online badges, having your logo to display, which would give your volunteers something they can display on their Facebook page, and make that connection even more and share the advocacy for Habitat. So although throughout the past year, as people say, you're pivoting and working with adjustments and new ways to do things virtually, I think a lot of the options have just given us an opportunity to open up our minds and come up with new ways to ensure our volunteers feel recognized. So importantly as well is when to recognize the volunteers. I think as Sarah and I even looked at this, in the end, our mindset all the time. So as much as there are those times that kind of stick out a little bit more, it's, a weekly, daily basis, on the top of your mind when you're in this kind of role. And most importantly, as we're here to kind of prepare for and provide you some insights and things on, would be National Volunteer Appreciation Week, and really all of April. That week is April 18th through the 24th. So definitely something we're kind of gearing up for. Dedications and major project accomplishments, I think, are another good opportunity. It's you're tying in, saying, here's the end result of this, labor of love and what you've done. Birthdays and anniversaries, again, opportunities just to give a little special touch to your volunteers. Holidays are just that opportunity to come up with your cutesy, fun events or things that tie in there as well, which give volunteers another opportunity on how to engage outside of just their day-to-day activities they get involved with. International Volunteer Day is a big one, kind of Sunday, December 5th, which also helps. That's what it is in 2021. So you can mark it on your calendar now, but it also ties in just the end of the year. So gives a good opportunity to look back at the year and reach out and tie into your volunteers. But again, I think what I took most out of even trying to think more deeply into when to recognize them is it's not just on scheduled event days. When you get to know them, when you listen to them, you find out if they're going through a stressful time, if they, if they had 2 more grandbabies, whatever it may be, hitting them at those times really can send a large impact. So we like those very much. And that really ties into that we're open to questions. Thank you, Carrie, and our contact info too, if anyone has questions outside of today's speak.
Thank you. That was awesome. So we do have, I have one quick question from Lance, Allison, and maybe Sarah, you can chime in on this too. What's the best way to train and remind staff of volunteer recognition? Like, how do you get your whole team trained and supportive of volunteer recognition?
I'm going to start with this one, but I know Allison can round everything out. Really, I started when I started with the volunteer coordinator position. Again, since we're small, I just started letting, our executive director, our construction manager, it's so-and-so's birthday. They're going to be on this site today. Watch out for so-and-so. It's, their wedding anniversary. Somebody just had I just started sharing that information. And again, that, that picks up when that's all I'm talking about, or all your volunteer coordinator is talking about, then those are the conversations you're going to have anyway. So I don't know, Allison, if you want to go ahead and build on that a little bit, I'm sure you've got more to add.
No, and I think you say that really well, and it's very true. Sarah knows everything, and she shares it all throughout the office, which helps make everyone aware. She's because she listened, because she built those bonds with people. She knows what's going on in their lives, and she makes everyone else aware. And our restore managers, our team leads on site, they have a lot going on, a lot beyond whatever. So making the time to stop in, to say how to train too. And I suppose, you can ask them to listen. You can ask them to take a point in their day, and in the morning when they're there, say, okay, today I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to take a minute to see who signed in today, see who comes in today, make a stop by them, and just make that effort to make a connection. Because going back to the first slide, a sincere thank you means so much more than a lot of the things that we can do. So, making that connection on a daily with those volunteers is really a simple way to do so.
That's great. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Sarah. All right, so looks like Lindsay says, I'm in a book club through Habitat for Humanity International for the book Power of Moments. It has been really insightful and easy to read. I would suggest this book to anyone wanting to rethink the way they recognize and manage volunteers. That's really cool, Lindsay. I guess I didn't realize that Habitat International had a book club. That's awesome. I'm going to read that. Anybody else have any questions? Send them in the chat. You can raise your hand. You can not physically raise your hand. I don't know why I just did that. There's a little button at the bottom that says raise your hand. I can't see you. So, or you can ask a question through the Q&A, whatever is easiest for you. Allison and Sarah, thank you for your time today, and your expertise. I know that it's not always easy to, to get in front of your peers and have conversations about things that you're doing. So thank you. So Dawn, Sarah, And Allison, Dawn has a question. Do you limit prize amounts?
You know, yes and no. Obviously, with COVID, we had to be, money conscientious. I leave that to Jerry most of the time, so we had to get creative with things. But if somebody really deserves it, and I'm thinking of one Warren in particular, Allison, who has been there for year after year after year. And, at this point we've gotten him jackets and he doesn't want anything, but we happen to know he's a Green Bay Packers fan. Well, if we get him something with Green Bay Packers on it, it's gonna go, So I guess it really just is individual, and what it's up to the person and the affiliate maybe. But they're worth it. To me, they're worth it. I don't know. I'm gonna fight for it. If he wants a jacket or he deserves a jacket, I'm gonna buy him a jacket, So especially after all that help.
I think too, a lot of kind of things we think about is it's a gray area. It's not all black and white. So you make those kind of adjustments. I also saw too on my Habitat, organization affiliates that have structures for that. So they have after X amount of hours, here's some options on what you can get. After X amount of hours, here's some options on what you can kind of get. So it balances that.
So just as a follow-up question to that, hi, Colleen. I'm glad to have you here with us today. Her question is, how many volunteers do you have? And what budget is allocated for volunteer appreciation? Sarah, that's probably more a question. The volunteer allocation is probably more for you. But Allison, how many volunteers do you have annually?
That's a great question. And being that I've been here since July and have kind of reworked our way of organizing and spreadsheeting and the way that we show how many volunteers we have, I can say that, in the past 2 months, we've, so far this year, I should say, we've had approximately 170 volunteers, and that they each, that total their, 300 and about 50 volunteers each month have touched our restores or our build sites. And so I apologize that I don't have a specific yearly total for you right now. We have looked at, our budget for restores and build sites kind of separately. And it would have been really nice of me to bring that information along also as far as what we allocate each year. I don't know if Sarah, you have off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, this year it was around 4,000 for construction and another 4,000 between the restores. But we do try to get a lot of, if we're going to do a party, we get food donated. I mean, of course, we're like anyone else. We ask for donations all across the way before we're going to go and spend money, and that includes, I will approach somebody and say, this is for volunteer appreciation. And the community is very, very generous. So a lot of it comes that way. We don't always spend that much, which is great. I expect to spend at least that much this year.
That's great. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Lance's follow-up question on that is, how do you handle community service workers when awarding awards?
Voluntold do not get recognized until after they've completed their hours. We still thank them, of course. They're still privy to the lunches or anything we bring to the sites. And they're not, we don't purposely say, oh my gosh, no. I mean, we had somebody who came and did, and this is 2 years ago, he did 300 hours, he above and beyond. That's somebody who wants to help and also wants to get over what he did. You know what I mean? So again, that's a case-by-case basis. I like to think we're all about second chances. So, but typically, yeah, unless it's above and beyond what they've been told to do, we don't really do anything for them.
I think that's perfectly said, Sarah, too. We are all about second chances and making the point to make a connection with the Voluntold, community service volunteers on site. I think really a part of them feeling like they are part of everything and an opportunity to be with us in the future and show those things. So although with COVID situations, a lot of our appreciation is maybe of the larger things for, kind of top volunteers or whatnot has been, not right in front of everybody or not in a group award show, but definitely just by showing them, a thank you and talking to them and getting to know them as well, it kind of helps alleviate that. So
great answers. Thank you. John wants to know, Sarah, specifically, what's your favorite thing that you do for volunteers?
So if you like food, I like you. So anytime I get to bring food somewhere, I'm like, can I stay? So, I mean, I love to, oh, it's somebody's birthday. Wait, let me go get cake from that really awesome cake shop down the way. So I have a niche for like the sweet spots all over the county. So it's like, oh, there's somebody's birthday at a Harvard build site, there's a great, bakery this way. I'm going to go get that. So yeah, anything food related, guilty, fully guilty.
I'm going to start volunteering at your work site.
Honestly.
Do you like donuts? Because I like donuts. Awesome. Just a comment from Melissa. Hi, Melissa. It's nice to have you with us today. She said this was a great session with new insights and ideas that we will use. I feel the same way. I took a lot of notes today, which is awesome. So thanks for giving a shout out to our volunteer appreciation video. We'll have this PowerPoint presentation along with the YouTube and the recording of this on our website available as well. But thanks for the shout out. But I got a lot of really great ideas from you ladies today. So thank you for that. This has been great to be able to kind of, share what a really successful affiliate is doing with volunteer recognition. So I don't have any more questions in the chat box, and it doesn't look like I have any questions in the Q&A. Doesn't appear that I have anybody with their hand raised. So thank you for joining us today. Thanks for taking time out to hear about what our friends in McHenry County are doing to recognize their volunteers in anticipation of National Volunteer Week and International Volunteer Day. So thank you for joining us. Next month, we will talk construction. So we're going to talk with Mike Welch and his team about the new construction standards, which I'm sure you're tired of getting emails about. But we're going to do a quick overview about all the new construction standards. So share that with those at your affiliate that work in construction or yourself. Share it with your volunteers, with your staff members, with your board members, anybody who wants to know more about all of the new construction standards. So thank you again for your time today. Thank you, Allison and Sarah, for sharing your insights and thoughts and great ideas. Until next time, be safe, stay healthy, and enjoy this beautiful sunshine today. Take care.